Hi friends, it's Pastor David again. I thoroughly enjoyed being together last week, and so I am delighted at being back together again this week. Last week we went high. This week we're going to go low. I don't mean that in the sense that I'm about to sucker punch you. I mean that in the sense that last week we went high into the heights of the church steeple, and there we talked about the grandeur and the glory and the greatness of our God. Today we're going to go down into the church's depths, and there we're going to talk about the constancy and the fidelity and the steadfastness of God. In this, we will find incredible reason for confidence and hope, even in these uncertain days. I'm taking you now to a really old part of the church building. This part of the church had its cornerstone laid in 1871, which makes it almost 150 years old now. It's been around a good long while. Now, as we make our way back here, there's something that I just have always thought was so cool and so powerful. And it's as you come back here, and you're underneath the main part of the church building, holding up 2 stories of church that we worship in each and every week, you have these massive and old logs spanning the entire length of the church, holding the whole place up. They're 150 years old. The tree, to be that size, had to be much bigger than that. It amazes me how people got these in here and got them together in the first place. And yet, even though we don't often think about them, even though many of us haven't seen them ever in our life, they're still there, beneath us, supporting us, and holding us up each and every week in worship for the past almost 150 years. That's amazing. That is constant. That is steadfast. At the end of St. Matthew's Gospel, Jesus tells us, "And remember, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." Jesus promises to be with us always. Now, not every day do we feel like Jesus is with us, which can lead us to one of 2 conclusions. One, we could say that Jesus lied to us, and he's not actually with us. In this case, we need to pause and really rethink everything that we're saying about the importance of this faith and everything else Jesus told us. Or perhaps we could understand that Jesus is telling the truth, and even on the days where we don't feel his presence, he is most certainly with us still. It is with this conclusion that I believe that beam in the basement of Trinity becomes so helpful, because we worship week in and week out in this church, and we often don't think a bit about what's holding up everything underneath of us. In fact, we even performed a little over a year ago a major renovation, making some beautiful changes to the worship space, to the nave in which we gather week in and week out. And the one thing that we did not think about once during that renovation was that massive beam in the basement holding everything up. If that beam weren't there, all of those beautiful changes that we made would have crumbled into nothing. It would have been a disaster. And yet, in reality, the one big supportive beam that we didn't think a lick about held up everything that we did. I think that is the beauty of the steadfastness of God. He is so utterly constant in our life that we become so used to him always being there that sometimes we forget that he's even there. And so perhaps today, as we think about the wonderful steadfastness of God, what we might take the time to do is pause and remember his goodness that's always been there.